Good morning. Here is my engagement table. I started off with a literacy standard for 9th and 10th grade to evaluate a speaker's point of view, reasoning, and or use of rhetoric, evidence, identifying any fallacious reasoning, or exaggerated or distorted evidence. People use this a lot when they speak, when they write, and it is important for students to be able to understand the purpose behind the rhetoric and the impact that it can have on people. So we'll have students research different speeches and find one roughly 5 to 6 minutes long. We don't need a 20 or 30-minute long speech that is of interest to them. They will then analyze the speech for logos, pathos, and ethos. They'll be provided a list of questions to explain portions of the speech that have logos, pathos, or ethos within it. This exercise will provide an opportunity for students to review their critical input experience, identify confusion and preconceptions, things that were accurate or inaccurate. These are crucial for persuasive writing skills. Kids have to eventually develop this kind of a skill depending on where they want to go in the future. And you can see my Marzano citation there. The second standard I picked was to produce clear and coherent writing in which the development, organization, and style are appropriate to task, purpose, and audience. This is a big one. Students are being inundated constantly with news sources. They're on their phones, they're on their iPads, they're on the computer, and they're constantly being asked to decide if something is a verified source or not a verified source. So here we're going to start to develop the ability to decipher that. Students will be given news articles, and they will be given photos, and then it's up to them to decide if the source that is providing it is a fake or reliable news source. Here they just have to choose. They have to use their own abilities to determine whether or not the writing, the development, and the organization are fake and reliable. There's many websites that have similarities, and students will have to figure that out going forward. So there is that one. Marzano gives us the citation, gives us identifying similarities and differences. That'll become one of their greatest assets as they go forward. So the next standard I chose is to cite strong and thorough textual evidence to support analysis of what the text says explicitly, as well as inferences drawn from the text. So here we're going to put in real life situations and history with literature. The bonus, of course, is that the kids will be able to figure out time periods and how or why things have changed, but that's not really the main focus. The main focus is to connect those real life situations. So they'll choose a short story that they've read in class. They've read multiple, and so they'll choose one that was perhaps their favorite. Research the author, the social and historical context, and make connections between the text and the research. Oftentimes, the history or something that has happened to the author really impacts their writing. So we want the kids to pick somebody that appeals to them. Decide how it relates to the writing. Sometimes they just don't put that connection together. Right now we're doing Romeo and Juliet, and we had them do an era search, things that happened during the Shakespearean time, and it really has been kind of eye-opening for them as we go through Romeo and Juliet to see the connections of why the authors put things together. They have looked at the history of Shakespeare now, and they understand him a little better, and therefore are able to understand his writing a little bit better. So again, with Marzano's research and theory and his critical input theories, they really hit home on that one. My next one is to write arguments to support claims in an analysis of substantive topics. or text using valid reasoning and relevant and sufficient evidence. Here, students are learning how to formulate an argumentative piece. This is a great thing. You really need to learn how to engage in civil discourse. I know they're not witnessing a lot of it in society right now. They're struggling to see where people are willing to hear both sides and have a civil conversation. So, this one will be imperative for them going forward to learn to agree to disagree. Here they'll select from a list provided and create an argumentative essay either for or against the topic. There's a lot of hot button issues out there right now, but we will try and keep them, focused on, something perhaps more age appropriate. Students will then hand in their essays, and then they'll be asked, we'll put them in front of the class and for a whole group discussion, and the class will have pre-written questions and answers, or questions, not answers, that they would like to ask about the specific topic. It gives them a chance then to be able to defend what they wrote or hear what somebody else has to say about the topic. They can have the discussion and they can, they have to use valid reasoning. There won't be any emotion. There will have to be statistical information. So those are some things on that one. By having to defend that statement, they'll learn to write with a purpose. A lot of people these days just write to write and say what they want to say, but writing with a purpose is a very different thing than texting or tweeting or Snapchatting. So very important going forward for the kids to have them. It also gives them a chance to reflect on their work. Did I say what I wanted to say? Did I get my point across correctly? So our last and final one is to make strategic use of digital media. These kids are growing up in a digital age. It is huge for them to know how to utilize digital media. So we're going to have them learn how to incorporate visual mediums into presentations to support their findings and engage their audience. This is what I was talking a little bit about, this Elizabethan era research that they've been doing. The students have created PowerPoints based off of their findings to present from the class. Excuse me. So it is, again, we're teaching them how to do things with a purpose. It's not just enough to say, okay, research it and move on with your life. The students will need to do this. They will need to create the PowerPoint, and they're working individually. They're not working as a team or together with a group, but they'll be able to showcase their knowledge by using the PowerPoint. They'll practice their public speaking. They'll practice research and writing. These kids are going to have to do a lot of it in the upcoming years. As ninth graders, they maybe do 1 or 2 PowerPoints, but the English teachers going forward are really demanding of it. And it's good for kids to learn how to publicly speak. It kind of helps back up the one just right before this, where they can engage in civil discourse. They're going to get up in front of groups. They're going to say things, and they need to be able to be comfortable. And it's not for everybody. I understand that. And, we have a student in our class who has a speech impediment. For him, it's very difficult to get up there, but he does it. He gets up there and he gives the speech and, he does his thing. He more reads what's on the PowerPoint, and that's okay. We let him do that. Often we don't want the students doing that. We want them to step away from the PowerPoint and speak from their, heart and from their brain and what they can remember and the information that they've gained while they've been doing their research. But sometimes you have to differentiate like that and allow those things to happen. So, it just provides another opportunity for students to practice their skills and strategies. So that is my engagement table. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day.